welcome to a new podcast I'm starting called Cait Casts On. My name is Caitlin and I am a knitter, spinner, sewist, and sometimes quilter based out of the Pacific Northwest. This podcast is primarily going to be knitting focused. That's definitely what I spend most of my time doing. While the other things, I definitely have seasons where I do quite a bit of it. Knitting is the one where I constantly have at least one project on the needles, and it's kind of a weird day if I don't spend some time knitting. This is also going to follow a more traditional knitting podcast format. We'll talk about what I'm wearing, finished objects, works in progress, and then purchases and plans. So hopefully that sounds appealing to you guys. So grab your craft of choice, settle in, and let's get started. So I am wearing today a Carl shirt designed by Sewing Machina. This is something I made in June, and I think by far of all of my sewing projects, this is the one that feels most like me. I just love the fit of it. I love the color, the fabric, the feel of it. This is Matchy Matchy Sewing Club's Big Market Cotton in mint green. It's so breathable. I feel like with this, has so much positive ease. It's so flowy. It's a really good top for more transitional weather. So it's been really great even during the summer with the sleeves rolled up. I absolutely love it. And then actually the buttons are vintage buttons that my mother-in-law has a small collection of, and she was kind enough to let me use. She had the perfect amount, and I just thought the green went so well. So this is a really special piece and one that I really love wearing. So let's now get into finished objects. I have 2 knitting projects to share today and also a spin. But the very first thing I wanted to show you is my Monica Geller tee. This is a pattern by Sari Nordlund, and I knitted up in 1 strand of Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the color navy. This is just like a really nice kind of like fitted structured tee. And I think it has a little bit more of a classic feel because of all the short row shaping in the sleeve, which is quite nice. And it also has, let's see if it will focus, a really nice twisted rib detail on all the cuffs and hems. So it's just like a nice classic to have in your closet, I think. It is a bottom-up construction. You do 3 needle bind off, and then you do nice short and sweet sleeves. And yeah, I'm really excited to have this in my closet. I actually have another Monica Geller tee that I made a few years ago that I was so excited about. I found this really beautiful yarn, and it was going to be my first time using alpaca. I was so excited, and come to try it on, and I find I am really, really sensitive to alpaca fiber. I think that thing is the itchiest thing I own, and I know so many people love alpaca and it's not itchy on them at all. So no shade to that yarn whatsoever. It was just something I had to learn. But I'm really hoping that this one is a little bit more wearable for me, and it's something I actually pull for more often. The pattern actually calls for a normal bind off, which normally I would ignore those instructions, but this time the yarn is so dark and I was feeling a tad bit lazy and not like I didn't really want to do an Italian bind off. So I went ahead and just did a regular bind off and just made sure to do it nice and loose. And I think it actually turned out really well. With how dark the yarn is, I don't think you can tell at all. And then also I made a few other changes to the pattern. The pattern traditionally has some like hourglass shaping in the waist, and I just omitted all of that. It's not really my vibe, and I think it worked out really well. The stitch counts, I believe, like throughout the shaping, they end up being back what they were at the cast on edge. So omitting it didn't really affect my stitch counts at all, which was really cool. But yeah, I'm really pleased with this shirt. I think this fabric is going to be a little bit more wearable for me than the last one. And I'm excited just to have something that feels like comfortable, but also a little bit more put together. And I also have some light blue lane pants that I sewed by Sid Graham, and that I think are going to go really well with this and make a really cute outfit. The next project I have is a Sailor Swift tank. This is a pattern by Kuduvakika or Veronica Lindberg, and it's just a really pleasurable knit. This is actually the 3rd one I've made. I knit this up using Sandnes Garn Tin Line in their white color and then this nice navy color. I think it turned out really well. I did change the gauge quite a bit when I initially swatched this yarn up at the recommended needle size. Honestly, the fabric was just like a little too open for my liking. So I looked at what needles I had in stash that were smaller, and I had a 2.25 millimeter needle, which is really, really tiny. But I went ahead and I swatched up some fabric with that needle, and I actually really liked the fit of it and the feel of it. It, especially as a whole object, it feels much more substantial, and it has a good flow still. So I'm really pleased that I went down and did a gauge that felt a little bit better for me. I think it's blocked out really well, and it did add a little bit of math to the pattern, but generally speaking, I did try and do things to the dimensions that the pattern stated. It just meant casting on more stitches and doing a few more rows. It's also finished with an I-cord edge around the armhole, the neck hole, and the way that the pattern is written, she actually has kind of a unique method for doing the I-cord. It's not all knit stitches, which results in something that I feel is like a little bit more flat and polished, which is kind of cool. And then the bottom also has twisted ribbing, just like the Monica Geller tee. And I also did this one into regular bind off. I was going through regular bind off phase. That's not something I normally do. Typically I will always do an Italian bind off, but this, because I was doing it on literal sock needles, it was like 500 stitches or something. And I really didn't want to be sitting and working on the bind off for like 4 days. So I ended up just doing a regular one. And I think I was careful to do it loose. It's right at the bottom. It's like nice and stretchy still. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. The one thing that I'm not 100% sure on is how big the neck is. It's not gaping at all. It doesn't look like weird or anything. It's just a little bit more open than my personal preference. I did pick up, when I picked up for the I-cord, I did every single stitch on the cast on edges on the front and back, and then 3 out of 4 on the 2 sides. So there is a little wiggle room for me to tighten it up if I took this out and redid it. But I'm just going to wear it a few times. I'm actually going to the coast for like a mini getaway here in a few weeks, and I'll wear it there and just kind of see how I feel about it. And if I get home and decide that this is something that's worth redoing, I definitely will. I have plenty of yarn, so I can actually just like chop it off and just start over. So that's definitely doable. And if I really feel like I need to do it in order to make the garment I want, then I absolutely will. The last finished object I have to share with you today is some yarn that I spun. This was actually the result of my tour de fleece, and I am so thrilled with this. This was made using Malabrigo Cloud, which is a 100% superwash merino fiber, and I was able to get down to a fingering weight for the first time, which I'm so proud of. I have a few braids of Malabrigo Cloud in stash in different colors, and I got them when I first got my e-spinner from my local yarn store and kind of just like put them on pause while I figured out how to spin. If you're not familiar, merino is one of the harder fibers to spin, so I just kind of got a little intimidated and put it on the back burner, but I'm so proud of this. While there's definitely some inconsistencies in the yarn, overall, I think this is my most consistent spin to date. It's just like a really nice 2-ply. I applied it back on itself, so this is all I have. But it's so squishy and beautiful, and all the colors in it are just lovely. Part of me wants to leave this in my yarn stash for a little while just to appreciate it for what it is at this stage in its life a little bit longer. But I also have some ideas for cast-ons. I was thinking maybe doing a Musselburgh hat. I've never done one of those, but I think that could be really interesting. Or also, I believe it's called the Frame Your Face Cowl by Andrea Mowry or Drea Renee Knits. Maybe paired with like a light gray or like a white, which I definitely have white that I could use in stash. So we'll just see. Maybe it'll turn into something soon. Maybe I'll let it rest a little while. But it's made me really excited to spin up my other braids of Malabrigo Cloud, because this is just like the squishiest, dreamiest, loveliest yarn, and I'm so proud of it. So that's all I have for finished objects. Now let's get into works in progress. The very first thing that I have to share with you is a Cove sweater I'm working on. This is a pattern by the Knit Purl Girl, and it is a top-down drop shoulder construction, and I'm knitting this in 2 strands of Knitting for Olive Merino. The 2 colors that I'm using are blue tit and blue jeans, and they make a really, really lovely combo where the marl is like soft enough and subtle enough that it feels kind of like one consistent color, but just adds like a little bit of depth to it when it's knit up. And I'm really, really excited about it. I specifically really love the increased detail on the back. The front kind of has a similar thing going, but it's just slightly different. But I just think that that's lovely on the back shoulder. This pattern also has a 2x2 collar, which is really sweet. And then I think it also does the 2x2 cuff and then hem at the bottom. This project is honestly flying off my needles. I actually cast it on a few days before I went to flock for the first time. I was kind of in an awkward place with my other works in progress. On the Monica Geller tee, I was like in the middle of the short rows on the sleeves. And then my Sailor Swift tank, I was getting really, really close to finishing the body. And I wasn't sure what length I wanted. I kind of wanted to steam it and try it on and just like play it by ear. And so those weren't really great Fiber Festival projects. So I quickly cast this on like 3 days before, and I was thinking, Caitlin, you're crazy. That's never going to happen. You're never going to be able to get into the round before you go. But honestly, coming after a 2.25 millimeter needle project to a US 8, which is a 5 millimeter project, this thing just like flew by like crazy, and I actually did manage to get into the round before we left for Seattle, which I was like shocked about, but it actually wasn't that hard. So this has just been like a really fun, easy knit, a nice change in pace from one of my other whips that I'll show you in a second. But I'm really excited to have this in my closet. Again, I think it's going to pair really well with my light blue lane pants that I sewed. As well as just, I think it's just going to be a nice, easy, oversized sweater for fall. And it's been really refreshing to get like a sweater on my needles again and really active in my whip pile. The second work in progress that I have to share is a pair of Oxbow socks. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry or Drea Renee Knits, and it's just a really nice knit purl texture on the sock. I'm knitting this up using Fuzzy Peach fibers. I forget it's her sock base. I forget the name of it, but it's superwash merino and nylon combined. And the colorway is from her mushroom collection. I believe it's called Ink Cap, maybe Death Cap. It's this really beautiful kind of light gray base with some yellow-green tones in there and then some light gray speckles. I'm quite excited about it. This is like my 3rd pair of Oxbow socks, I believe. And this one's been hibernating for a little bit because I did too many decreases in my gusset. And I just need to rip back probably like 4 to 6 rows. And I just haven't done it yet. I know it'll take me like 2 seconds, but part of the reason why I'm sharing it today is because I really do want to do that and get these back going. So that I can wear them, because they are just like a really nice sock to wear because there is like a knit purl texture going on. They're nice and stretchy. They really like form themselves around your foot in a really nice way and feel really cozy. So I'm really excited to get these kind of back in an active whip. I'm not too rushed about it. I mean, socks for me are one of those things where I won't feel the urge to knit them for a few months, and then you know, I'll go through a phase and I'll knit a pair in like 3 days. So I'm not going to brush it or like force it, but I do at least want to get that error corrected so that when I do feel the urge to pick them up, it's just kind of smooth sailing from there. And then my last knitting work in progress. Oh, this is my Mount Everest, guys. This is the Vita cardigan by Susan Crawford. This is a 7-color Fair Isle cardigan knit from the bottom up and steeked. And it is just a labor of love. I cast this on in January, and honestly, the body was like pretty smooth sailing. I got to the sleeve, I encountered some problems. I'll talk to you about those in a second. Maybe you guys have some advice for me. But this has been kind of hibernating during the summer. I am using 1 strand of Knitting for Olive Merino. There are 7 different colors in this sweater. Let's see. My main color, kind of the mid-tone blue that I'm using, is Blue Whale. And then throughout the rest of the design, I'm also using Claret, this nice red tone, oatmeal, which is kind of a nice little neutral, Plum Rose. This is so much more pink on its own, but next to the blue in the sweater, it actually comes across quite orange, which I love, but it's like nice and soft. And then I'm using Dark Moose in a few spots, Navy Blue, and then also Dusty Dove Blue. And so altogether, I just think there's a really nice vibe going on. This was really inspired by her sample that she has. This pattern is inside her book Echoes. I actually got a gift card to my local yarn store for Christmas, and this is kind of what I got from it. But let me see. She has a sample in here that I pretty much based my colors off of. Mine are just a little bit more muted. And then like the dark brown, like mid-tone tan there, I lightened up quite a bit. But yeah, it was definitely very inspired by that sample. This is my first Fair Isle project of this intensity. And so I was a little nervous to choose colors. And so following her sample as like a loose guideline really helped me feel more confident in my choices. Oh, this has taken so much work. Pulling it out has really inspired me to pick it up again. But we moved earlier this spring, and this was the project on my needles at this time, which was a lot. And so, yeah, I definitely needed something a little bit simpler to get us through that phase in our life. But I did reinforce all the steeks, and I actually cut open that first sleeve. And yeah, like I said, I encountered it's kind of frustrating when you do all this work, and I didn't really think about it, but when you get to the sleeve, you're doing decreases, you're changing at least one color almost every row, if not both colors, and there's just like a really visible line there, and like it is under the arm, like it's probably not, I'm probably overthinking it, but it's not just like the smoothest seam, I think. So if any of you have any tips on how to deal with literally like a 7-color project, or is it 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 7-color Fair Isle project where you're like transitioning colors and doing decreases at the underarm. If any of you have any advice for making that smoother, I would love to hear it. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of discouraging. I did get all the way through the body, and I thought maybe I should just do the sleeves in like a solid, that mid-tone main color blue, or maybe I should make a vest out of it, but I don't know. I just feel like that's not doing myself justice, and I need to really give it another honest to God try. So yeah, if you guys have any tips on how to handle that, or if you just think I'm overreacting and think it's fine, feel free to tell me that too. Yeah, it's just kind of a little discouraging. But I definitely have quite a ways to go. This is knit on US 3 or 3.25 millimeter needles for the body. So it is a pretty small needle project, and the button band and the cuffs and the hem are on those 2.25 millimeter needles that I used for this. That's why I had them already. So that definitely, the button band is going to take some time. So I know that there's quite a bit of work that still has to go into this, but I think the bulk of it is done with the body being done. And I would like to dedicate some time to it this autumn and maybe finish it for the winter. But yeah, this is just like, It's my Mount Everest. I'm so proud of it. It was so much work. And I don't own anything like this. I've never knit anything like this. And I really want to do it justice. So maybe I just need to take some pressure off. But like I said, if you guys have any tips, please let me know. Ugh, just like, look at that. Anyway, I digress. That is the last knitting work in progress that I have. I just have one other spinning work in progress to share, and it is another braid of Malabrigo Cloud. This is in the color Crystal, and it has these really nice blue tones. There's some that are definitely more solid, and then they kind of blend a little bit more in other sections. But this is the first ply that I have completed. I'm going to do a 2-ply. And I based the control card off of this yarn, so I'm thinking I'm going to get something that's quite similar to this. And I think the second ply is actually going to have less drastic changes. I think it's going to be kind of overall darker and a little bit more like the blended sections over here and here, which I'm quite excited about. I think it'll be a nice little fun yarn. And it'll be good to work that up and get that out of stash, because I have some fiber acquisitions from Flock that we can get into in a second, and I have plans for them, and I'm so excited to get them on my spinning wheel. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into purchases and plans. Like I said, I went to Flock Fiber Festival in Seattle for the first time a few weeks ago, and oh my gosh, it was like such a lovely, inspiring experience. I'm a pretty introverted person, and I was a little bit nervous about how I would feel going in. I'd never been to, like I said, any kind of fiber festival before. And part of me, I really wanted to go for many years, and this is the first year it kind of worked out. But part of me was like, am I just going to be really overwhelmed? Am I going to have so much decision fatigue? Is this actually going to be an experience that works for me? I really wasn't sure, but I got there, my sister and I went together just for Saturday. We're kind of close enough where we can do a one-day drive. And you walk into the room and it's just like this lovely warm energy is just filling the space. Everyone's so excited. Everyone's so friendly. And it was just like a really cool experience. I got to meet some people that I've watched here on YouTube or I know from Instagram, and I've bought their yarn or I've knitted their patterns. Just really cool experiences like that. And if anything, it's made me want to go back next year for like the whole weekend. It was just an incredible experience. So I did get some things from there. I kind of went into it with a few things that I knew I wanted to at least look for. I have some yarn coming from a Coast to Coast pre-order here soon from their Book Tropes collection, and the project that I have in mind, specifically for one of the things I bought, was it needed a mate to finish. So I was looking for that. I wanted to like maybe get a few little notion things here and there, and then for spinning fiber, that's kind of the area where I let myself have a little bit more free reign. Currently in my stash, like I have enough single skein fingering weight like sock yarn that I don't really need to grow any of that in my stash. I feel pretty content with what I have there, but with fiber I don't really have much of a fiber stash, so I was really letting myself just be inspired by the colors I saw while I was there and just kind of go with where the spirit takes me. So that being said, I actually didn't get that much yarn. I was able to find a mate for that yarn coming from the pre-order, and I found Fiber MacGyver's Shaniko fingering in the color Purl. This is 100% Shaniko wool, which if you're not familiar, a Shaniko sheep is a blend between merino and rambouillet. I've never had a chance to work with it before or feel it in person. It's like so bouncy and squishy and like next to skin soft. I really am excited to use this. But I bought this specifically because this is the exact same base. I'm pretty sure that my yarn is coming from Coast to Coast, what that yarn is. So it's like I can't say no to the exact same base to pair together in a sweater. You know, like we're making the laps, I'm kind of walking around and I'm like, do I need to spend this much on like a cream color yarn? Like I just thought, why don't I just go with a more affordable like Knitting for Olive or Cascade or something like that to pair with it? But then, yeah, I stumbled across the exact same base in a really great color to pair with what I'm getting, and I couldn't say no. So I ended up getting 3 skeins of these, and they're going to go together with what I got from Coast to Coast in an Olga sweater by Petite Knit. So I'm very, very excited about this. Oh, it's going to be so fun to knit up more sweaters. I'm so looking forward to it, and I'm really excited to knit with Shanico for the first time. And actually, the only other yarn I got was this one skein of Boucle DK from Pigment Ply. It's this really lovely green color called Wilding Muse. And Pigment Ply was one of the few booths that I knew I had to get to. Like, I was so excited to see them in person. I've admired their yarn online for years and have never had the chance to order it. They're based out of the UK, I think London. So I've never really messed with like shipping fees or anything like that for them. But when I saw they were going to be at Flock, I knew I had to like make my way to their booth early. And it was like packed in their booth. It was probably like a 6x6, maybe 8x8 space. And like 15 to 20 people packed inside. So like, I probably spent 5 to 10 minutes just like slowly inching my way closer and closer to the yarn wall in their booth. I just knew I had to prioritize it. And, you know, I finally get up to the yarn wall and there's just so many beautiful colors in there. I saw they had Boucle and I've never had a chance to work with Boucle. So I figured I have to try Boucle. And I'm sitting there staring at the wall probably for like a couple minutes before I started to feel guilty. And I was just like, all of these colors are so, so pretty that like, I just finally had to tell myself, just grab one and you won't regret it. You'll like whatever color you walk away with. And so I ended up grabbing the one that was closest to me, which is this one. And it's just lovely. And when I checked out, she was like, you're going to love this. When it knits up, it looks like actual moss. Which, you know, as a Pacific Northwest girl, I'm not mad about. I think I'm going to make a pair of socks with this. I've kind of always wanted to try Boucle socks. I feel like you can get socks like that store-bought. And I just kind of want to try and see what happens when I do that. So I'll probably just make like a vanilla sock, not necessarily follow a pattern when I make these, but we'll see. I don't know when I'll cast them on. It'll probably be a fall or winter thing, but I definitely want to finish my current sock in progress, the Oxbow socks, before I dive in. So like I said, that's it for yarn. Pretty much everything else is fiber and then a few notions pulled in. But the other booth that I really desperately wanted to visit was Red Door Fiber Studio. And I picked up this beautiful braid of merino fiber called Wasteland Baby. And it's from her Autumn Royalty mini collection that she did last fall, which, oh, I love all the colorways. I love all the albums and songs they're inspired by. So I knew I had to pick up a braid of this when I saw that she had it. This is based off of one of Hosier's albums. And I bought a skein of the other Hosier colorway that she had in this collection last fall when she originally did it. And I used it as color work in a really beautiful fingering weight sweater I did for Christmas last year. And it's honestly like, it's one of my favorite sweaters I've ever made. It's so beautiful. The color is just lovely. So I was really excited to get its mate to spin up and just do something fun with. I don't know what I'll do with this yet. I think when I don't know what I'm going to do with it, I think I primarily will try and do a fingering weight spin because I think there's so many fingering weight single skein projects that I would love to do. So yeah, it'll probably get spun up here in a little bit, but I'm content with looking at it in this form in my stash for now. Okay, and then I made my way to the Mercerie booth at Flock and I found this. And I think I sprinted right over to this. It is so, so beautiful. This braid of fiber is from Yarn Jam. It's their bear base, or their confetti tweed base, and it's the color bear. It is Shanico, and it's this natural white color with all of these really beautiful multicolored speckles. And this was the thing on Saturday that I kept like hemming and hawing over. Should I get more braids of this? I don't know. I love this so much, but I had no idea what I wanted to spin up and make with it. So I just said, you know what, like hold off, just get the one, don't overdo it. And then I got home, I looked at the other fiber I bought at Flock and what was already in my stash, and I have an idea for what I'm going to do with this. And I'm so, so excited. And I actually ended up ordering, I think, 3 more braids of this to do it. It's going to be stunning. I'll talk about it in a second, but oh my gosh. This is going to be my first time spinning with Shanico as well. So not only, you know, do I get to knit with it, I get to spin with it. And I'm really excited to experience that. I've heard it's wonderful. So really looking forward to that. And then the last thing of fiber I got at Flock was this Rambouillet braid from Little Fiber Co. I believe this is a color from her upcoming Cinderella collection, and it's called Just Like Those Royals. It's just like this really lovely blue color, and this is kind of what inspired me, was looking at these two together. There's like some speckles in here that are basically the same color as this blue, and I was looking at my stash that I already had, and I realized I also had this braid from Little Fiber Co. that I hadn't used yet. This is 100% BFL, and it's their color Earthy. I got it in an in-stock update, and I looked at these 3 together and I went, oh my gosh, I need to make a stripe pipe sweater. So I think that's the plan. I think I want to make the stripes, all the little speckles in this bare fiber, and just do really colorful stripes. I did look at Treehouse Knits is doing a Moana collection, and she has like a yellow color and a really soft like terracotta peach color that I think would look really, really good with this. But I'm pretty set on wanting to spin all the yarn for it, and I did see that she's not doing fiber for the colors that I want, at least in the pre-order. She might have some in stock later, so we'll see. I think this is going to be one of those things where I just kind of slowly look for colors that I want, and just kind of build up. I do have some natural colored fiber in stock. That's this like nice oatmeal brown. I actually already did a sweater spin in this color, and I have enough left over that I could do a stripe in this color as well. If I just wanted to find a couple more, this would save me some money. And I think depending, if I did get like that yellow and that like red color, I think that these would look nice together, if some warmth was added in those other colors. So I think this is just going to be one of those projects that I just kind of slowly source the things for, and spin up over time. And it'll probably be something that I knit in 2026. But oh, it's so squishy. It's so lovely. And I'm so, so excited by this idea. So it will definitely be happening. I got 3 other things at Flock that are just kind of little notions things. The first is this yarn minder. I'm so sorry, I don't remember the company name that I bought this from, and it wasn't on the packaging. But it was kind of a build your own little minder set. You could pick out your stem, your base, and your strap separately. And I just went ahead and did all yellow, but I just thought it was really cute. I've never had anything like this. And I don't know if I said it, but I'm going to the coast in a few weeks. And so I think that this will be really cool to try when I travel, and maybe do something at dinner or on the beach or just something like that. I think that will be cool to try. And then I also got this little yellow pouch. This is from Maika. This is their medium pouch, and this really cute yellow stripe. I only have one other pouch like this, and I really love using it to hold sock projects. So I think that this will be a really great addition to my little making stash. It's really well made. It's really nice. So I think it will be a really good home for some socks that I knit up. And then last but not least, I got a maker's notebook from Making Treasures. I did not plan on getting a making notebook, but I went over to their booth. It was, I think, right next to Pigment Ply, and I felt the samples that they had out, and oh my gosh, it's so, so nice. I actually ran a stationery company for 6 years previously, so like I'm a sucker for really good stationery and paper, and feeling this in person is just like a really lovely experience that I just like, I couldn't say no. You can track your like yearly plans, individual project plans. You can take notes on all the projects you're actively working on. There's a lot of space to document a lot of details, and then also just like a blank page to write notes on. You can track your yarn stash, which is pretty cool. And then also like what needles and hooks you have. And then perhaps like the most interesting page that is like actually the very last page in it is all of your personal measurements you can keep track of, which I thought was really, really cool. I do use Ravelry. I'm actually a huge fan of Ravelry. I know not everyone can use it, which is unfortunate, but I've also been struggling. Like I said, we moved earlier this year and I didn't really have a good place to take pictures of my knits in this new house. We actually just repainted like last week, so I might have a spot now, but I didn't leading up to then. And I was just feeling kind of discouraged because I feel like the photos are what makes Ravelry so special. At least as a user, like I want to look at my work, and also like share my work with other people and hopefully be a resource to them. But anyway, I was kind of struggling with that because I haven't been taking pictures of my knits for like 6 months now. And so I thought this might be a nice solution. It's also like really nice just to keep in my project bag and take really quick notes about things as I'm going. Maybe like how many rows I did on the, sleeve rib, sleeve hem, or something like that, so I can match it on the other one. And it's just like a really nice object. I think, I'm excited to keep using it and keep trying it. Will I fill it up? I don't know. Will I buy another one? I don't know. We'll see. But regardless, I think it's just like a really nice object to even just have on my bookshelves in my craft space. I just think it's lovely. So I'm very excited to have this and try it out and see what I think. I think that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for sticking around if you've made it this far. I hope you made a lot of progress on whatever craft you're working on, and just had a nice time chatting with me. I really hope you join me next time too. I think next time I'm going to talk about a quilt that I've had hibernating for a little while, but I want to finish this year before the holidays. So I think we'll probably talk about that a little bit. I have a lot of really fun knitting plans coming up, especially with that pre-order yarn coming my way and the finds I got from Flock. So I think it's going to be a really inspiring and fulfilling fall, and I hope you join me for it. So thank you so much. Have a good one.